I want to start with what you think about wake up times. I reckon that's the best thing to start because I know there's a lot of conjecture about when you should go to sleep, when you should wake up, what time of the day, and all
Mm.
that from a circadian like rhythm cycle. What's your thought process from that? Because I know you're a bit of you like to sleep in a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, that's more so like there's a couple of different things. Yeah, so like everyone will have a natural like sleep wake rhythm that they
Mm-hmm.
need to figure out what that is anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that I sleep in a little bit extra is because of Ash. So because Ash is like she's a very slow starter in the morning. She's
Really?
like running a cold engine till for like an hour after she wakes up. So
Wow.
it's yeah, she's a slow starter. Normally I'd be way earlier morning, and you can kind of like shift your rhythm either way depending, right? So
Do you like
but
your rhythm to be in the same rhythm as hers? Like, does it make it easier for you from a,
it makes living easier, yeah.
yeah,
But
normal life
my
function?
like my natural sleep wake is probably like I'll be ready to go to sleep by 10, and then naturally I'm awake about 7.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
my natural sleep wake. But the wake time is the most important part of the whole cycle. So like, because a lot of people will be like, I try to go to bed at the same time, and it's like, yeah, but that's different
Yeah.
depending on your day and how stressed you are, and if you've had caffeine or whatever, you'll be like that. That doesn't really work that well. So the wake time is more important. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
a huge one for like it's like it's glorified, right? Where socials, you got to get up at 4:30 and hit the gym and do all these things, and it was like, look, you don't have to, but if you're a busy person like you are,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to, because you literally don't have enough time in the day. It's
Yeah.
not like that I do this because I'm a big dog. It's like I do this because I have to, because I've got
Yeah.
no time. So
Yeah.
that's sort of where I sit on the wait time thing. Depends on a bunch of different things for people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, look, mine's changed over the years and my outlook on it as well too has changed. I used to be, as you well and truly know, it used to be I wake up at this time every single day. Um, and I found that waking was easier, but I think that my fatigue levels over a period of time hit quicker because exactly what you just said. Based on a given day, I would be going to bed at whatever time, whatever, how much work I had to get done, whatever I had that night, if I was catching up with friends, if it was a weekend and I was watching sport late, whatever it would be. So I always tried to have my wake cycle the same and get up at the same time, whether it be, me, 4:45, it used to be. Now it's more like 5:15. But I'm less about that these days because my quality of sleep was disrupted and then I wouldn't be getting the sleep. And every time I'd wake up in the morning, I used to be like, oh, yeah, I've got to go. Like I'm working out at the same time every day. And that's so important for consistency with training and things like that. And
Mm.
it is to some extent, but the problem was my quality of training and then my quality of work and stuff like that throughout the day was gone because I was building up that constant fatigue because I wasn't getting enough rest each night. So I agree with you 100%. I don't think the wake time, as much as I love it to be consistent, I think it needs to be relatively consistent. I think you need to look at how long you're sleeping for. For instance, like with me, like with my sleep apnea as well too, I know I don't get into deep REM sleep until 3 or 4 hours in. And some
Yeah.
of those nights when I was up watching soccer, watching whatever, overseas sports at like 12 a.m. or whatever, I'd only be getting 4 hours sleep. So
Mm.
I probably got absolutely no REM sleep at all. So my body hadn't even rested at all for probably for 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
So I used to do that a lot and it increased my metabolism because I wasn't resting, but it also increased my protein breakdown. It also, I'd get a lot of muscle loss on those days where I wouldn't get a ton of sleep and things like that. So for me, yeah, probably the ideal takeout from sleep and things like that is I think it's more, yeah, like you mentioned, time duration of the sleep rather than the wake up time. I still think, like you said, if you're a busy person, you need to get up early. Like on the weekends, I still won't sleep past. If I sleep past 6 o'clock, then I feel I'm restless as like it's just I'm like, no, I've wasted too much time. And if I can get my workouts done early and my training done, then I set myself up in a great position for the rest of the day. But if I've finished training and it's like 8:30 or 9 o'clock, then I feel rushed constantly throughout the day.
Yeah, see, because like I'm so much more fast and loose with that. Like,
yeah,
it's like I'll just not set an alarm and just I'll wake up whenever I wake up, whether it's 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Just like, all right, cool. I'll just give my body whatever it needs at this point.
yeah.
But I'm nowhere near as structured as you are either. Like,
Yeah, well, and this is the chat like as well too, is it's kind of like, I guess if we're looking at the ideal life, and a lot of chats that we've had recently and that I've had with a lot of people is, my life, yeah, super structured, but then, like how structured do you want it? You know what I mean? Like you need to find that balance because like there's a lot of times where I'll be like, I'd love to sleep in, but it's that mindset that stops you from being like, you're getting up regardless. When realistically, I could sleep in. And then, like I could sleep in that little bit extra, but it's more of a mental kind of thing. Like it's kind of like that expectation to always, be on, I guess, like switched on.
yeah.
And
But it's not a nice feeling either if you're up feeling like you're already behind and then the rest of the day is like stressed trying to play catch up in a sense with your own mind.
Yeah, for sure. And then one thing that obviously I want to get your take on as well too, which is massive from a mindfulness perspective, which I know I need to do. I've been talking about doing for years, but like then having that approach to switch that kind of on switch off and be like, okay, I need to do like more meditation tactics and things like that. So then I can take my time to do things. Cause for me, it's just you wake up and you're 100% on the go. Like it's just go, 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 go constantly. And then obviously there's take about the benefits of slowing down a little bit. One, appreciating life, but also two, like, getting yourself in a set position so that you're, going to be able to like allow yourself to process things and move throughout the day without being constantly rushed. So
yeah, I'm probably not the best person to advocate for that kind of thing because it's like everyone's different. So mindfulness, just to like, we'll start small with this. We'll clarify. Mindfulness is just being aware of the present moment. That's all. So I think it gets taken out of context a lot, and meditation and then mindfulness kind of get mashed together, and it's all, and people always like, it's really good for you, and it's like, yeah, it is, but at the end of the day, all it is just paying attention to whatever you're doing. And it can be for 1 second, 5 seconds. Most people can't last more than 5 seconds of like pure focus at a time.
that'd be me.
It's pretty much everyone. It's good. It's a fun little exercise to do, but there's benefit in it if you're doing it consistently. It's like the gym, right? You don't go to the gym once and you're like, I'm shredded now. It's like, no. It's a huge build up over years and years and years. And the more you do it, the more you practice that rule, right? But the paying attention thing, I feel like, is if that's something that you want to start doing, then start super small. I get people to start with their food. So whatever, or your morning coffee or whatever. Actually, like, think about, what am I eating? What does it taste like? What's the texture like? If you're having your coffee or whatever, what's it? Nature's always a really good one as well. Just look at a tree, like literally just pay attention to the tree for 5 seconds. That's all that is. That's being mindful. If you just like, if you're in the car and you're rushing and you're necking your coffee down because you need the caffeine hit and all that, that's not what we want. You can still be driving in the car thinking about how pleasant this is. I've got my coffee. I'm on my way to work. That's still mindful in itself. It's not like I'm sitting cross-legged with my eyes closed listening to some 15, 20-minute meditation by someone. The slowing down thing is easier for some people than it is for others. If you're the kind of person that's your normal mode of functioning is to just go, then and you're happy to do that, go for it. I think we get caught in the trap a bit of like being told what we should be doing, and it's like a one size fits all. So you know, it's a classic, right? Like get up at 5 a.m., have a cold shower, meditate, journal, read 20 pages. That
Mm,
doesn't work for everyone. It's like
mm,
that works for some people. That's great, but
mm.
everyone's different. So,
Yeah,
and mindfulness is exactly the same. Like actually doing mindfulness meditation makes my skin crawl. Like it makes me have this like really itchy, uncomfortable feeling. So I hate it. Like I hate doing like like if I was to follow one of the meditation exercises through an app, I hate that shit. It makes me feel
yeah.
super uncomfortable.
Well,
Um,
yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I get impatient. I feel like I'm wasting time. You know what I mean? I'm like, what am I doing? I could be lifting weight. You know what I mean?
like I said,
So
it's not for everyone.
yeah, exactly. Like that's where it's kind of like, so then the approach, but it's a topic that we need to cover because obviously out there in the literature so much about how beneficial it is. And then whenever people are always telling me, they're like, oh, you got to chill out a bit. Like, you got to do some of those tactics and things like that. And it's kind of like, do I, or should I just keep doing my thing? Like you said, that works for you, it works for you.
But you've got good, well, as far as I can tell anyway, you've got good balance in, like you work your ass off, but you also work your ass off in the gym, which
Mm,
like, yes, the research is saying that like strength training is just unreal for
it's not,
longevity.
it's
So
not.
you don't drink heaps of piss. You're not out on drugs on the weekend. Like you're looking after yourself in that sense.
Mm,
So if you were telling me every 2 weeks my blood pressure's through the roof and I'm back at the doctor's office again, I'd be like, all right, man, now we've got to slow down a little bit. But it's like you're
it
fine.
might be through the roof. I should probably start checking it.
Carrying all that muscle around is probably not helping.
Yeah,
Tell you what.
my breathing's through the roof. I can tell you what, my respiratory rate. um, yeah, no, definitely, no, yeah, I agree with that, definitely, and it's something I think we 100% wanted to cover. It's probably the major focus of our group, just about like you said, the one size doesn't fit all. You know what I mean, and showing everyone that it's kind of like, yeah, we work with that. Like, what we work with and what would be an ideal day is different for everybody, and it's just about understanding somebody, their routine, what makes them, work on a psychological and a physical basis, and then yeah, aiding that as well too. Because it was funny when you said the cold showers as well too. Now I haven't done cold showers for ages, but when I used to do them, my goodness, like, game changer. But they're just so hard to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I've got the ice bath, and I'm trying to get into the routine of the ice bath in, summer, fantastic, but in winter, my goodness, and it's just not for people. There's just people are like, why would you do that to yourself? But if for me, like seeing the physiological effect, seeing how I felt, I'd be awake. Like I actually can go take caffeine out of my daily routine if I did something like that, because I'd just be, I'd be awake and alert and things like that. So yeah, but for a lot of people that I talk to, it's like, oh, it's just crazy,
Yeah,
And I
like
find the
I'm,
shower,
I'm more of those people that are saying that's crazy. Like I tried the cold shower thing,
yeah,
hate it. I'm too I don't want to use the word soft because it's got sort of connotations to it, but I'm
yeah.
too I'm gonna say hedonistic for that. Where it
I
was
was,
like, what? I don't need to do this, man. I could have a nice warm shower. Like
yeah, yeah,
this is
yeah. Like,
shit.
why am I making myself uncomfortable? Like,
Yeah.
life's about enjoyment.
Yeah, I was like, I don't need that, man. I wanna feel
Yeah,
good. So
yeah. Yeah, and so I guess that's that old school approach of like, feel good now or feel good later. You know what I mean? Like that instant pleasure, or that I'm
yeah.
doing this as a punishment because it's gonna, you know, make me feel good later, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
Which
that
I guess,
it's probably a little bit delayed gratification in a
yeah,
sense. Yeah. But like,
which is very much my lifestyle. I'm a lot about the
oh,
delayed
you're
gratification.
so good with that. Like I'm
Yeah,
definitely the other end.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
But you have that, and you have that kind of like where it's just like it's that balance. And I watched this video, right, and you'll know it. You'll know it as soon as I say it. I think it was by Chris, our boy, our guy that
Chris
does all the quotes.
Williamson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chris Williamson, and he said there's no perfect way to live your 20s, for instance. Now that we're in our 30s, we can say this, but there's no perfect way to live your 20s. You either you go through it and you have a ton of experience and you don't have the qualifications and you don't have the delayed gratifications, and you become an underqualified person that's lived a lot of life, or you do it the opposite way and you do a ton of study and you do a ton of work and you become a qualified person that hasn't lived as much life because you're not living, whether you're traveling or whatever that may be, you still the discipline and things like that, you're not experiencing life, all that life has to offer, you know. And he said there's no perfect way to do it because I know that there's been so much debate. Like throughout your 20s, you have these people that are traveling constantly and don't have any savings and do that kind of stuff. And then you've got these people that are, you know, like me, working their ass off day in, day out, haven't changed their lifestyle for years because they want to set up their future and stuff like that. And he's like, there's no perfect way to do it. He said both are great. He's like, you just got to pick your choice and you got to run with it. And that stuck with me for years because that was always my constant question. I was like, well, you got to live, but then also you're trying to set yourself up and you're trying to achieve these massive goals and all that kind of thing. And it's that, I think that's what people find struggling with that balance on a day-to-day basis, you know?
Well, my brother calls it, he calls the way that I sort of function week to week, month to month. And it's seasons, right? To steal Hermosi's quote, but it's seasons. So certain seasons, the pendulum swinging one way or the other. So there'll be a season where I'm just like full head down, bum up, working like crazy. And then the next season, I'm like, fuck work, man. I'm doing whatever I want and just chilling. Heaps of PlayStation, just taking the piss. So it's like and I like that the 20s thing is different though, like because I was swimming full on until 22. So like the very, very early 20s, that was pure discipline. That was a full-time job. Then full-time uni came in with work on top as I was still trying to swim at the same time. And then it just became about the psych pathway. So I'm like, it was funny actually, like in the 20s, I'm probably closer to that, like getting qualified, not going out clubbing and shit. Like it was just a grind, trying to work. Then, you know, then we moved, we relocated for a couple of years, back again. And now it's like, all right, cool. This is what all that build up was for. But I'm 35 now.
Yeah.
It just took a bit longer than I thought. That was the
thing. It
thing.
is. And that's the balance. You sit there and you go, well, where do I draw the line? I guess like if you're becoming that qualified person and you're really trying to put in those years and years of hard work, then you're like, at what age do I then rebalance it out, right? Because there has to be a purpose for why you're doing everything, you know? And that was always for me, and the chats that I have with everyone I'm close with is always kind of like, there's that balance. Like, they're like, are you going to do this forever? Like, are you going to be like 14 hours of work and, you know, be in the gym for 2 hours a day and all that kind of stuff? And it was, my answer is always no. You know what I mean? There's, it's the setup. You know what I mean? It's the setup, and it's about figuring out, you know, like where the balance is and where you kind of like level out that playing field. You know what I mean? So obviously it was very much one-sided in my entire 20s and probably still is, to be honest. But then you level it out once you get to the point where I guess you've got to be happy with, you know?
Yeah, I don't know though. I don't know if you'll ever level that out.
Well, I think from an internal drive point of view, I think it would be very hard to level it out.
Yeah.
Like, I think I've told you about obviously taking breaks from work and stuff like that and that kind of thing and all that kind of thing. I don't think it would last very long. I think I would have like a week at home or something like that. And I'd be like, all right.
Yeah, like I'm ready again now.
And that's probably the best thing about what we do now is because I don't think I'll ever have a break anymore because we'll always be producing content for all our clients, and we'll always be hopefully coaching and things like that, which is lovely. But that's also, I love that. We love that, you know? So like, to me, a lot of that's not work, you know, as much as we are working and we're helping people, it's not work for me because it's just, there's so much enjoyment. We have so much enjoyment going through all the topics that we've been talking about for years, like this kind of stuff, that's not work. So I guess the balance is favoring that because it's kind of going from, well, you don't have to be out and about. You can kind of have a good morning, get on your calls and start recording content that you love, you know? And it's helping you grow further in life, you know?
Yeah, hopefully helping anyone who's willing to listen to it. But
yeah,
the other point I just want to make on that that whole like 20s grind, even like currently, right, is like hindsight is such a massive thing. I think it's so underestimated. So like it's not until after the fact that you're like, oh shit, that was actually worth it, or maybe that was the wrong choice to make. There's so much to be taken out of hindsight, and I think people just kind of skip over it. It's like, oh, that fucking sucked or whatever. But one of the things that I have consciously adopted is I never use the word busy.
Yeah,
oh, I'm so busy. The busy narrative to me causes unnecessary stress in people, because it's like you start to believe that you have no time to do stuff. You always have time to do stuff. It's priorities, right? So if like I could have the craziest, most busy week ever, and someone's like, "How's your week?" I'm like, "Yeah, it was all right. I'm just chilling." Chilling is that's like my frame.
I know.
I'm just chilling, and I could be like just barely keeping my head above water, and it's like I'm just chilling. Because
Whenever
it
I
shifts
message you,
internal stuff that I can't prove and have no evidence for.
yeah,
But it feels that way.
whenever I message you and your go-to answer is like, "Oh, you're chilling." I'm like, "All right, bro, give me something more." I was like, "Come on." I was like, "We've got to pull this out of you." I was like, and then I got to ask more direct questions. But that's good. Like, it's good. Yeah, you've obviously taught yourself from that perspective. And it's obviously important to be like, "Oh no, this is the way that it is." And if you're going to live this lifestyle, you're going to be like, that's like me saying, I do work 12 hours a day every week, but then complaining about it. It's like, well, you put yourself in that position. You wanted it. So you're in there. Now thrive. You know what I mean? Now take it and just go from there. My biggest one when it comes to relating back to that is, and you definitely would have seen, I think everyone's noticed this about me recently, is I don't plan ahead. I go, today is the day. Like, people ask me about like what's going on the weekend or what's happening here and stuff like that. I'm like, meh, it's the weekend. I'll deal with it when I get there. It's like, what am I doing today? What am I doing right now? Because otherwise, if I had thought about that, that would just be, I'd be like,
oh, that's just overload. Yeah.
That's just ridiculous. But particularly with how much I have in a given day, running multiple businesses, still trying to live life, still trying to juggle everything that you're trying to do and that kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely no chance. So it's
but are you like from an ideal day perspective?
Yeah.
Because like my whole week is pretty structured. Like I'll go it's almost like a bit of a sliding scale. So like for my entire week, I've got it pretty much fully mapped out. Not to the point of like every hour or anything like that, but there's definite stuff in there. It's locked in. I know it's coming up, and like I'll check my calendar every day, like for the rest of the week. Then like maybe even up to 2 weeks ahead, I'll sort of check that periodically and just sort of get myself prepared for what's coming. So it's interesting that like for someone like you, so kind of regimented in the way that you do things every day, that you're not looking too far forward. But then me, who feels like I'm a little more fast and loose, I'm so rigid with my okay, I know next week I've got this thing coming up. So, and again, like I feel like this is going to be the main takeaway of today is like everyone is different and everyone's going to function differently. But from an ideal day, are you a wake up and then figure out what's happening today, or like the night before, even like what have I got on tomorrow? Like, are you running that sort of stuff? Nah.
It's so that I wouldn't, anyone that would listen to this coaching call and stuff like that, I wouldn't rarely have someone live life the way that I do. And I'm going to explain why.
Love that.
And this is good for people to know. And it's not I want people to understand that it's not about an ego thing or anything like that. It's got nothing to do with it. What I realized at a young age, and people know, you would know this about me, a lot of close people know this about me, my memory is ridiculously good. It always has been. It's how I got through uni. I can rope learn stuff and just remember it like crazy. I can remember phone numbers like that I've learned 6 years ago. I can remember my client, without getting into too much, my clients will have like passwords for their kids to access YouTube and stuff like that. They tell me it once 3 years ago, I still remember it to now. You know what I mean? Things like that. So I would never tell anyone to live life the way that I do, and people get frustrated by the way that I do it. Like, I wouldn't necessarily need a calendar for anything. I literally just go, yeah, I've got this today, I've got that today, I've got this today. And I've probably only ever forgotten 2 major meetings, like since running a business or something like that. Like there was one time I forgot about a client and I just couldn't believe it, like,
Yeah.
but I'd scheduled it in and I changed that appointment, and it was just something that just like rattled my brain, and I couldn't believe it because I never forget anything like that. You know what I mean? So that's how, if I'm being completely honest, that's how I live my life. It's just crazy memory. I know what day it is. I know what I do. I know what needs to be done. I know what bills need to be paid when. I know what happens like that and stuff like that. I have recently, over the past couple of years, because of how crazy and how much we have on, I now do set myself reminders, but they're just reminders that I go, okay, I need to keep putting in reminders just in case I think, or as like a trigger of being like, the reminder is for this day. But when I set myself reminders, I have a day like today, Friday, where it's less contact client hours, where I go, okay, I go through all my reminders, and majority, more than not often, I've ticked off everything. So the way that I live my life is from a memory based pattern that I've developed over years of being like, this is how I do everything. This is where my clients are. This is what I've got to do. These are the jobs I've got to do. These are the reports I've got to do today. And it's not, I wouldn't advise anyone to do that. I would advise most people to have structure. So yeah, that it's interesting that you say that, because it's very much worth noting, and that's the same thing. It comes back to it's about understanding people. You know what I mean? Like that wouldn't work for majority of people. It just wouldn't. It's just too hard. I know some people. I've met people that have done it. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not common, and it's not an ideal way to do that, because like it's just It's, I guess, it's cool to do, I think. But yeah, if you're risking that, then you're kind of like you're forgetting things constantly, and some people can't do that. Not only that, but also, like I say this to a lot of my clients, and particularly things like this. People have kids. They're not just worried about their life. Like it's all about, my focusing on myself, my friends, all that kind of stuff, my family and stuff like that. But I'm not running somebody else's life. You know what I mean? But when you've got kids and you've got other things like that, then you've got to manage that, And I always admire parents where I'm like, oh, like they've got to do they're constantly thinking about their kids or that kind of thing. So then I'm also like, yeah, well, there's that balance. There's no way. You know what I mean? You need that.
God, no. Yeah.
Because you can't just manage one person's life at a time. You're managing 3 or 4 people's life, So yeah, I think that's really important to take note, because it's right. Like you would think someone like me would have a really regimented, like most people say, oh, you get up in the morning and you check your schedule and you're like, this is what I'm doing, or throughout the day you go, I'm going to this place, I'm going to that, but never. It's all internal,
Because I'll do the night before. I'll do almost like a preview of what's to come tomorrow. Just kind of mentally prep for whatever's coming. Because like if there's a big day of sessions with people, then, and certain people, like their life situations are a lot more heavy than some others as well. So like there's a fair bit of like mental prep that comes with that side of thing as well. But one of the things I think that helped, like, so me and Ash have we got a joint calendar.
I love that. I also love that.
It's so helpful, because she's flat out. Like she's so busy. She's chatting to people all the time. There's all these events and stuff she goes to. I couldn't keep up. So I was like, we got to have a joint calendar. So, which makes me think of the kids thing, because then it's like, yeah, what if you had 3 kids who were all trying to do like different sports and stuff, and like the whole family's like, what the hell is going on day to day? Like they must have like family calendars, right? Where everyone kind of sees what's up. It's probably something worth highlighting for what we're talking about here. Is like any ideal day, the way that we're sort of talking about it is going to be, and again, depending on the person, but your ideal day is going to look very different to someone else who has kids, young kids, older kids, whatever age you are, if you've got pets. Like there's so many different variables that come into this. I feel like a lot of the time as we're talking about stuff, we're probably just running through a general, like for us, haven't got kids, like I don't even have a dog, right? So It's just me and Ash that we got to look after.
Yeah.
So the ideal day for us is going to be very different to someone who has young kids and pets and all the rest. So take some of what we're saying with a grain of salt, because it's like, of course, it's not going to be applicable as it would be if we had 4 kids and 2 dogs and a cat, and it was like, oh, I can't do all those things because I got to get out and feed the dogs and kids and da-da-da. Everyone's different. That's going to be my main point from today. That's it. I'm taking it away. Context.
I'll keep taking us away from the major point. You keep bringing us back there. Yeah, and then, look, this is where it just comes back to, I mean, you know, I'm going to put a bit of advertising in there at this point in time, but it's crucial, because anyone that comes to me, you know, I want to do this ideal lifestyle because I think it is so crucial for people to know that. And what we will make note of as well through now is we're going to do ideal lifestyles based on different situations, based on if you're living with your partner, if you're an athlete, if you're a mother, whatever that may be. I want to put all them in there because I really do think we have the skill set to be able to provide those examples. Like, there's no way I'm expecting a mother of 3 children to get up and go, oh yeah, my first priority is going to be a cold shower. Not going to happen. Your kids are screaming, they're already in your bed, all that kind of stuff. Not going to happen. But that's where we set the goals. We do our coaching calls and we go, cool, no worries. We work with that. It might be that absolutely nothing gets done in the morning. It's impossible. You like to sleep in, you get your kids ready, you barely get them to school in time. You know, that's fine, you know, because then we're going to pick a time of day where we can have you time, and we'll prioritize that time, and we'll get in as many beneficial things and factors that we can. That's not an issue, you know. And we'll talk about a lot of life experience, but then we'll come back to different situations. And the best part about all our experience is we've worked with everyone, you know, so we'll be able to, you know, not do it from a personal perspective, but do it from I've worked with these particular clients, what works best with them, what works best with their schedule and things like that. So yeah, we'll narrow it down even more. But I guess the thing that I love the most about the generic lifestyle approach is it's kind of like anyone that will watch our content will be like, oh yeah, that's cool, I'm going to add that one thing. If they add that one thing to their lifestyle, sweet, you know, like, oh, I'm going to try cold showers, or Brendan has magnesium when he gets up, you know, first thing in the morning. Or another one that I've added, which I wanted to make note of, is electrolytes. I've done a lot of evidence lately into electrolytes first thing in the morning. Game changer. So I want people to get things like that where they go, okay, you know, I want to explore this further, whether you have a call or whether you look to, you know, potentially add something like that yourself, and see how you feel, you know, like see how that changes how you feel, how you respond on a daily basis. Because for me, I'm super dehydrated, and I'll go into more of a, you know, an example of why I am, but the more muscle mass you have, the more you're going to withdraw water from the cell throughout the nighttime, the more dehydrated you're going to have, the more water intake you need in general. So when I have electrolytes first thing in the morning, I'm restoring my equilibrium, my homeostatic state as quickly as possible, you know, which is my ideal thing. If I wake up in the middle of the night, I know my balance is out of whack. My balance is way out of whack quicker than majority of people because of the position that I put my body in. So most people can go hours without food. Yesterday, I had back-to-back clients all day long. I went from 9:45 was my protein shake, and it was just impossible to get food until about 2:30. And I was a proper mess. I had a headache. I was Gornskis. I was out. I messaged you and I said, I'm supposed to be working, but I'm absolutely ruined, you know, and it took me 3-4 meals until nighttime to restore that balance, you know. So once again, completely different. Whereas majority of people that don't need that much energy intake, that don't need that many calories, that don't need a ton of protein sources because their baseline is a lot lower, then it's much easier to go a longer period of time without that, you know. And that's where we want to exclamate the differences between people, you know what I mean? That's why majority, I would never have anyone, you know, live that kind of lifestyle, but it's good to see that, you know what I mean? It's good to see the progression, you know, because as you progress, as you start a training program, as you start this, as you start a diet and all that kind of thing, we get our newbie effects. But as time changes, as your physique changes, as your lifestyle changes, as all those kind of things change, everything, the ballpark just keeps on moving, and that's where you've got to go. So now what is your new baseline? What is your new homeostatic balance?
So just to clarify too, like the homeostatic balance is just like your body's normal mode of functioning, right?
Yeah.
Like that's everything's kind of and because I don't know how many people are going to have an understanding of homeostasis, but it's like if the balance is out of whack, your body tries to essentially balance itself back out. So like if you have a salty meal and you're super, super thirsty, that's your body telling you need some more liquid because we're gonna balance things out. That that's the sort of principle we're talking about. But I think the biggest thing for me is patterns. So like repeated patterns of stuff. So for anyone that is wondering how to build self-awareness in their own life, it's the repeated patterns. So if you're like that missing the meals thing, that can't be the first time you've ever experienced that. And the negative side effects to that, right? Like you probably knew what was coming. It was like, shit, it's been too long. I'm going down the shit chute soon. This is not good. There's the patterns that'll keep coming up. Same with working out. Like I know that there are certain exercises in the gym that if I do them, there are certain parts of my body that it just doesn't agree with. So it's like, I've got to scrap those. They're just gone. I've got to replace them with something else. There's the little things like that sort of come up, but you've got to, well, I've found anyway, if it happens more than twice, then I learned a lesson. I'm like, it happens once. I'm like, oh, that's a one-off. Second, maybe. If it happens a third time, like, okay, that's a thing now. It's like scrapped. So things like skipping meals and having headaches and feeling like crap. If that's happened a couple of times, it's like, all right, this is a thing now. I've got to stay on top of this. Yeah, it's interesting. The pattern recognition and self-awareness, I think, is another thing that's probably under, what am I trying to say?
Yeah, I get where you're trying to lead. And that's probably more of our takeout message is pattern recognition. All that kind of stuff is more important than being like, do this, do that, do this, do that. Pattern recognition is a great way to identify behaviors that you want to continuously keep doing and you don't want to do. Because you're 100% right. The pattern, I knew that. Like everyone knows that I know that I should be eating. Everyone knows that. But when you're working, whether you're doing all those kind of things, when you have a liability for your clients, when you're trying to do the right thing by them, when you're trying to juggle so many different things, it just doesn't fit. You know what I mean? So I knew it was going to happen. I even knew it once the day it started, and I had plans to get the food in and it didn't work. So it was pattern recognition. I knew it had happened before and stuff like that. And I knew what was going to be the outcome. I knew that I was going to get a headache and I knew that it was going to, you know what I mean? Because as soon as I go through that fasted state, because of the excess muscle mass, my brain goes straight into ketosis straight away. And that's where the headache comes from. It comes before the dehydration comes in.
Yeah. So, because just on that too, I think I'd mentioned him before anyway, but that old client of mine who tried the zero carb thing and his brain started not working properly. Carbs are going to be okay. Yeah. Most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're smacking, too much and then you're down the shit chute. But the pattern recognition in diet, exercise, just daily functioning, right? Is like if we're talking from like a neural pathway, changing the pattern or the behavior in this sense is so hard because if you've got an established neural pattern in your brain, like think about it like that, right? You've got, it's very, very, it's thick, right? She's had lots of practice that loop. That is a very efficient pathway. If you're trying to change this pathway / behavior, it's hard to kind of separate that and create a new network. So the pattern thing should be an indicator of whether it's positive or negative. Should I do more of this thing or less of this thing? Yes, but it's going to happen a lot slower than you think it is too. So it's not like I've realized I can't eat, and it's all circumstantial as well, right? So it's like if I skip my meals, I'm going to get a headache. Cool. That's going to happen again at some point, right? Because you're going to have a day where it's going to happen. But the awareness is there, so that's fine. It's probably more the pattern recognition of negative behaviors that you want to change. It's like how much time and effort goes into trying to establish a new pattern or break away from this old one. That takes, I always tell people, how long do you think it's going to take? I don't know, like a couple months. I'm like, yeah, cool. Whatever timeline you think it's going to be, double it. And that's probably a good way to go because it's probably going to be twice as long as you think it is. It's like surgery recovery, right? The docs are always like, you'll be up and about in 6 weeks. It's never 6 weeks. It's always longer. It's like
it is. It's true. And patterns and behavioral patterns are, when they're hardwired, they're so hard to change. You know what I mean? Like, we all know it, like most people know it. It's like, I have these patterns, I have these behaviors, whether they're good or they're bad behaviors, they are extremely difficult to change. And you have to consciously, every day, make that choice to change those behavioral patterns, especially if they're long-term ones. You have to wake up, you have to consciously go, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do this today. Knowing deep down that your subconscious wants you to do the opposite thing or is so used to doing the opposite thing, so that's really hard. And that's probably the most important thing that I find about having your coach with you, because they identify that it's really hard to, on a daily basis, have that complex thought process to be like identifying that and then continuously changing it, when it's your default option. Whereas your coach goes, we're doing this. If you don't do it, why didn't we do it? And we break that down even further, whatever that behavioral pattern may be. And I find that that's the best way to approach any kind of coaching scenario or any kind of, lifestyle changes. It's kind of like, that's going to take time. Like you said, that expectation of time period is so much longer than we think. And it's so much harder to do when you don't have the right tools to be able to reflect on and to continuously keep changing. Because it's the same, like for myself, it's constant. Like, whereas when I chat to people about it and I've openly made an agreement, with myself, but then also have explained it to people and be like, this is what I want to do, then it's like, then people can identify that change for you and then assist you and keep pushing you in that right direction, particularly when you find it the hardest to change. So
we'll do it in a way that is like collaborative. So it's because the amount of times that I've heard, different people online and whatever, just taking the complete wrong approach to it, like basically just forcing people into stuff that, like, we're not forcing you into anything. You've got to be the one to realize that this is going to be beneficial for you, and we've got to figure out how to best do that and apply that thing without, basically bullying people into doing stuff and making them feel like shit. It's not like that at all.
No, and they never work. And I've seen coaches like that do that, or I've had coaches like that do that to me as well too. We know, that kind of stuff, but it never works. Like, short term, if your motivation's high and all that kind of stuff, someone telling you, you got to do this, you got to do that, there's no option, you might adhere to it because like you've kind of committed to something and you're like, I know they look good or they diet really well, I've got to do what they say, kind of thing. It never works. It's never going to sustain a long period of time. You've got to be adaptable to everyone and how they work and what they work with and approach it like that. And I think, that's definitely a strength. That's a strength for us as well too, is it's kind of like, no, it's just not, it's never going to be as simple as do this or eat this or do that or think this way. It's just that life is way too complex for that,
because it's like, if that was the way that it was going to work, you would have already done it. So
everyone would do it. Everyone would do it. Everyone
there's a
would
huge of recent, probably in the last 10 to 15 years, there's been a huge surge in values aligned motivation. So, like, figuring out what people's underlying values are for themselves in work and life and family and sport, whatever it is. And I'll do this exercise with clients all the time. I'll get them to outline top 3, 5 if they really having trouble with it. There's a massive big worksheet that I give them, but it's like, let's outline all your top values for different areas. If you find yourself in a situation that you're like, this sucks, we reflect back on your values And if your values aren't aligned with the situation that you're in, you know it's the wrong space. And it's okay to just can it. If you maybe have a bit of a misalignment with what you're trying to achieve versus where your values are at, we just sort of adjust it. But I find that's kind of the core, right? That's like the roots of the tree underground. It's like that's the important stuff. What you see on the outside is like, oh yeah, that's nice. That's the underground stuff that's really important. So that'd be a recommendation for anyone who's still listening. Is that if you haven't figured out your underlying values yet, like, let us know. We can do that. We can help you with that. That's going to be something. Or if you find that you have trouble with motivation, I might do a separate video on this. Actually, I've got a slide deck ready.
You should.
Your motivation will be heavily influenced by your own values, but you have to know what they are.
Yeah.
And there's all these people online being like, it's values aligned. Yeah, that's fine. What the hell does that mean? The amount of people that are like, how do I figure out my values?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good question. No one's ever really told anyone.
Yeah. And two massive points that come from that, which I want everyone to know, is see how like Nick refers to values instead of goals. Everyone wants to talk about goals. Values are way more important. Values is inbuilt who you are. And we're always going to come back to our values as an individual and stuff like that. Goals are changing constantly. The goalposts are constantly changing. Values, once we understand that and we understand your reason, to do the things you want from that deeper kind of level, it's so much easier to then change goals, make lifestyle changes that are going to stick. So I love that you just kept saying, values. You're not talking about goals, because that's a deeper understanding of what we need to change is massive. And that's what you're going to assist a lot of our clients with. They're going to come to me and they're going to go, I want to do these diets. I want to do that kind of, strength changes, whatever it may be. And we know that, all the tools are there to be able to achieve those physical goals, but we need to understand the way that the brain's going to work before we even look at, approaching those kind of goals or achievements for people. Because I can write diets until I'm, blue in the face. But if we haven't understood our clients the way that we need to, then it's not going to work,
And the client, but like a client also, most people anyway, don't, like, no one really knows what their underlying values are until you try and figure it out, because they're all unconscious. That's why I said like the roots of the tree, because you don't know where they are. You don't know how deep they go or how wide they go. You have no idea. So trying to figure out where some of them might be is always helpful, but the unconscious side of it is super difficult, because no one, that's the point of the unconscious. No one knows what it is. It's just,
and also situationally, based on where we are in life, our values very much are like, we're kind of sitting there being like, well, my values are this, but like, has that been the sole focus of my life lately? Or have I been coming back to my root cause values? Maybe not. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, crazy. Life's been crazy. I've had all these things hit me, over the head, just bang, bang, bang. And it's kind of like you're sitting there and you're kind of reevaluating your values, or you're kind of being like, hang on a second. So to have that safe space to open up to someone, it's kind of like, no, this is who I am, or this is who I want to be. And we'll work with that,
it's the foundation of the house.
Yeah.
It's the thick concrete slab that you can build a frame on, and it's going to be okay. And then context dependent, like, it'll shift a little bit, but like they're not going to be flipped on their head completely. But like, people who have families, all of a sudden, your values are going to change, because it's like suddenly whatever you want to achieve is not now the most important thing day to day. You've got someone that you have to look after. So that's a very hard pivot all of a sudden. It's going to look different. That's okay. They shift. It's the revisiting, the awareness side of it. And this is where, like, imagine just working with some coach who's like, I can just get on with it. Thanks, champion. Didn't think of that.
And see, like me and you would, like, if some coach came to us, I wouldn't care about how much experience they have or how many clients they have or something like that, and they just would like that approach. You're just kind of like, what is going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we've done that in our industry with so many people that have done that, in previous, and we're like, like? There's no way. But it's obviously we have that expertise and we have that level ground to be able to call the people out and be like, what is going on here? You know what I mean? Whereas I guess clients will be like, oh, maybe that's the right approach. Like I just need someone to be super hard on me to kind of like discipline me to kind of be like like that kind of like smashing me until I get it into my head that I need to change my life and that kind of thing. And that's not healthy.
No,
But
no, that sounds like there's probably some other things that we could run through, but
yeah, exactly.
just know that is an extremely short-term approach. That's
Yep.
that's like your big fun night out on the weekend. You're done after that. That's it.
Yeah.
It's about it's more about understanding and longevity in the space. It's not I'm coming to you for a quick fix. 4 weeks in and out, we'll smash it for 4 weeks and then you're done. Like you just snap back to whatever you were doing beforehand anyway. So it's not a good way to go about it.
Yeah, and this is where like I love the ideal life. What we're doing right now is because the ideal life is about building an ideal life. It's exactly what it means, and it's the ideal life for each individual. So you can look back and you go, I've got all these tool sets that have helped me. You know what I mean? Like I haven't just done this run of the mill program. I was like, yeah, I did that for a bit. I lost some weight or something like that. But what changed? Over time, what changed? I looked good for a little while longer, but then life hit me again, or I was happy or proud with myself sticking to a goal for this period, but I just couldn't do it for X, Y, and Z reasons. Ideal life is exactly what it means. It's about generating an ideal life no matter where you come from and what you're about, and that's what we're looking at. Is it's kind of like, what are those tools going to be? And absolutely none of them may be nutrition stuff, none of it may be physical stuff. All of it might be, it might be just changing your mindset, it might be changing the way that we think, it might be anything like that. It might just be purely physically based, but whatever it is, it's about building that life so that you can look back on it and go, I've learned so much, I've changed so much for the better, and I'm now much happier for that.
Yeah, I love this. There is something to be said for that, right? The nutrition or the S&C or even the mindset stuff. It's like this coaching, mentoring, whatever you want to call it, that we're doing here. It's not necessarily strictly about one or all of these things. It's about perspective. So, and again, I'm using that word understanding, but it's about understanding the self. So there's a bloke who I watch on YouTube all the time, and the other day he jumped on and he said, I don't give a fuck if you got a master's degree in something. He was like, that doesn't mean shit. And at first I was like, well, it does. And it means that we have a certain standard of knowledge that's been recognized formally, but also that combined with years of experience, that shits all over someone who's just some guru who's got no quals at all. It's a deeper level of understanding. It's an inch deep and a mile wide, or a mile wide and an inch deep. Yep. Sorry, I think I just said the same thing twice. But you get my point.
I do. If
someone is saying, don't worry about them and their extra quals, that's ridiculous. That's like, well, you don't worry about the surgeon who's got all the quals. Just go to Joe Bloggs down the street with a scalpel. He'll be right. He'll sort you out. It's like, fuck no, I'm not doing that shit. The understanding is the thing. So if someone's coming in being like, I don't really need strictly nutrition or S&C or mindset, I just want kind of like some general coaching about stuff. That's perfect. That's exactly what this is for. This is not, if you want just very strictly like a diet thing, yeah, we can do that too. But the general side of it is probably one of the better points of this community. It's like, that's perfect. That's what we can really help people with. It's not the niche little, there's heaps of niche stuff out there. You can grab that. The generalized stuff, I need help with this weird little bit on this week, maybe this thing another week. That's perfect. That's what we're here for.
And also on that's where all this content production is so crucial, because so many people, they don't actually know what they want. They just know they want a change. And that's completely fine, because sometimes I do that as well too. And You come into the group, you have a look at some of the content, you find things that you're interested about, you find things where you go, actually, hang on a second. Yeah, I actually would like to change that, or that's really fascinating. I want to learn more about that. That's where the content production comes in, because it's kind of like, oh, cool. I didn't even think about that, or, and then that way you're not even having to really delve in too deep or even start any coaching process. You're just self-exploring through watching videos and watching content and understanding, I guess, what we do on a daily basis, which is, obviously a lot of self-reflection and a lot of utilization of all our tools and all our assets to kind of, build ourselves the best lifestyle, because we both love it. We both love that. That's why we got into the industry as well too. But yeah, I think that's the best part. Like, you can just come in, you can just start watching things, and we've already had clients saying, do this topic, do that topic. That's fantastic.
Love that. Do more of that.
Yeah. Then I don't have to think about what topic I'm going to do next.
Bit of guidance is great. Yeah.
Exactly. It's perfect. So that's what we want it to be about. You know what I mean? So then it can, and then, over a period of time, we're just covering different content, and large amounts of stuff like that. And then obviously when you want to, or if you want to, then you've got other packages available to you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I love that we jumped on to talk about the ideal day. We did a tiny bit of wait
in the
time.
morning. Yeah, I know.
And then we detoured. We went around town.
Everyone's going to find us detouring a fair bit. Back to the
ideal it's complex stuff, right? It's not as easy as just like, here's your surface level list of instructions.
And
it requires a deeper understanding and discussion.
And if it takes us 10 videos to get there, then it takes us 10 videos to get there. And we will chop it up and make it a bit more structured so that you've got your morning, your lunch and things like that. But I guess, drawing back to the morning stuff, we've obviously shown a lot of different things you can do in the morning. We've done it. We've talked about me. We've talked about you. We've talked about sleep cycle, which is really important. We've talked about different things. Now, I do want to talk about training in the morning. I really do want to. It's something that how passionate I am about it and the benefits of it. And I think this is something that is a little bit more something that we could, be like a yes or no kind of answer, like, or at least show the perks and the pros and cons of training or exercising in the morning compared to the afternoon.
Yep.
So that's one thing I want to chat about. And the reason I want to chat about that is because I think it changes your day and like so much. It changes your day from a nutrition side of things. It changes your day from how you feel first thing in the morning, your daily routine, all that kind of stuff, that it's important to make note of it all. So, I'm a massive fan of training in the mornings, and I used to train in the afternoon. I used to train mornings and afternoons. But now I'm just way too busy to do so. But the morning routine, I love it because regardless of what you do before you train, the best thing about it is that you have done what is probably, for me, the most important thing that you can do for yourself. You get it done before anything else. That's whenever anyone asks me, that is the thing I say is the best part about it. You are doing it before anything else. I get up every morning and I go, I have to train. I don't have to. We know I don't have to, but it is wired there that it is the thing that I want to do because I think it's the best thing that you can do for yourself. Now, that's a very ambiguous statement, but I think it is one of the best things that you can do for yourself single-handedly. Whatever you do, it doesn't matter what training you do, but a form of exercise, I think is one of the best things you can do. So I love doing it before anything else comes into play,
There's like extra level of accomplishment, right?
Yeah. You've accomplished something. The first thing you've done in your day is an accomplishment. And you say it 100% right, regardless of how you look at it, regardless of if you went for a 5 or 10 minute walk, it's an accomplishment. Because it's not easy to every single day wake up and go, I'm going to choose exercise first. When you could choose so many different things. You could lay in bed and watch a movie. You could have You could have pancakes and bacon and, you know,
Yep.
do all that kind of stuff. So you're consciously choosing to do something that makes you better, you
Yep.
know, as the first thing that you do. So that's my biggest take on it. And I'll talk about afternoon training when we get to afternoon training, but that's what I think is the most beneficial thing about it is the accomplishment, the achievement of doing a thing for you as the first thing that you do, regardless of if you get up and you eat and you have, you know, certain subs and you do a cold shower, whatever it is. I think that's the most important thing. Now, from a metabolism perspective, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. It sets your body into its right metabolism rhythm, like we were talking about from a homeostatic balance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crucial for that. It aids in weight loss. It aids in so many different things because we're in a generally fasted state because we've gone 10 hours without food rather than in the afternoon where we'd be training and probably the last meal that we've had is 1, 2 hours, 3 hours ago. Completely different perspective from a cellular level and a metabolism level. And anyone that wants any further information about that, it'll be in my human biochemistry, you know,
Cheeky
stuff.
plug.
Yeah, it'll be in my nerdy stuff. Or once again, just have a call with me and we'll go through it further. But we won't talk about it now. But I just want people to know, obviously, the benefits of it. But then also, it gives us so much more time later in the day to prioritize stuff. And I feel that in the morning, particularly if you do it early enough, you're doing it at a period of time where the world's asleep. Your kids, maybe most likely, if you can obviously leave them safely and you can get your training session done, the kids might still be asleep. Everyone hasn't started yet. The
Yep.
the world isn't moving. So you're doing the most beneficial thing before everything else begins and gets in the way. And getting in the way is not the best topic, but like not the best way to describe it. But things happen, you know?
Yeah, but that's like I'm just gonna highlight something there, right? Because I find that fascinating. So you're someone who can't slow down, right?
Yeah.
But the way that you talk about working out in the morning,
Mm.
that to me, like that is your mindfulness practice.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what it is. It's when everything else feels quiet and it hasn't started up yet. And it's like, this is where I'm quiet and I can get my stuff done. This is my peace. And then as soon as that's done, it's like, okay, now everything ramps up and the rest of the world's awake and we're on.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That's how I'm seeing that anyway. That's cool.
Yeah, for sure. And that they're so pivotal. And then as soon as you not only that, but then as soon as you come home, like, you know me, I've been around that many people that aren't morning people, and you come home and everyone's still sleeping and they're just getting up and they're just getting into their routine and they don't, and I'm bouncing around. I cleaned up the place. I've done this, I've done that. So it spikes those energy levels. It gets you going. It puts you into gear. So it takes me from second or third gear and then I'm straight into it. And I'm like, okay, let's go. You know what I mean? So it sets you up because you're going, all right, I'm awake. Like you're awake. You're not going back to bed. You're not going to have a snooze. Like you're ready to go. And then it sets you up. And then that way you're ticking, your tick list, you're in front. You're in front for the day. You're constantly going, all right, I'm in front. I'm leading the charge and I'm taking control.
I find the other thing too with the morning training is the other people that are training in the morning are so much nicer than the afternoon people.
Well, yeah, and 100%. Everyone has the same goal set. You don't train at a facility in the morning. People aren't going to get up. If they don't want to get up, they're not going to get up. So if you're training there, you generally have a good purpose in life. So yes, 100%. I would agree with that too. Whereas you get more walks of life depending on what training you're doing in the afternoon, you will 100%, and it'll be more chaotic because most people do that because it is consciously hard to get up early. Whereas most people will go, all right, I'm going to sleep in and then I'm going to, leave those tasks till later on in the day.
I find it hard if I pass a certain time in the day, there's zero chance I'm doing a workout.
Yeah.
Zero chance.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate I've got the flexibility to be able to train at random times during the day. Like yesterday I went at like 2:00 in the Arvo, but it's like if past past, because the evening training's hard for me to get the energy up to be like, okay, now I'm going to do this thing. It's like, just get it done earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a massive tick on the box.
Huge tick. And you're, like I said, you're ahead. If you don't get it done early, you're not ahead. And most people I know that train in the afternoons are nowhere near as consistent as morning trainers. And it's because things happen.
Yeah.
Something happened today at work.
Yeah.
I've got to do this. I've run out of time. I had to stay back late. The kids have got this to do. I've got to take the kids here. I've got to do this. In the morning, there is going to be much less of that. Majority of the issue with the morning is what we already talked about, whether or not you've had enough sleep, whether or not you had a late night. That's your biggest issue with the morning. Did I get enough sleep? Do I have the energy? Do I have the mental fortitude to get there?
And there's a bit of a knowing yourself well enough and listening to your body well enough, but also knowing that it doesn't have to be 100% output every single time. It's like if you get up and move your body, great, tick it off. That's all. It's like in its most simplistic form, right? Yeah. We're not expecting to set the world on fire every day.
No. And if anyone thinks we do that, then there's no one that does that.
There is bad news for you.
There's absolutely nobody that does that. If anyone tells you that, if you've got an entrepreneur out there, they're lying to you. There's absolutely no way. The amount of times I go to the gym and I just run around and I do 40 minutes. I did that this morning. I had coaching calls this morning, and then we had this. I went to the gym. I had the little sleep in, like we talked about. I hardwired myself to have a little bit of a sleep in because I was up late again last night working. Shock horror. And then I got up and I knew I only had 45 minutes, but I went. And I changed my approach to the gym. I supersetted everything. I got more of a cardiovascular approach to it. I was running around the gym rather than taking time to do more of a strength approach. You need to be adaptable. You know what I mean? You need to be adaptable. There's just no way. And that's where, an easy flick or a message to your coach and being like, hey, I've only got 40 minutes tomorrow morning. I've got a massive day. We change the program. You know what I mean? Or we go and do some cardio,
Yeah.
Let's do that. So, there's a different approach. Or a lot of the times I'm like, oh, cool, no worries. Let's skip the 10-minute travel time to the gym. You live in a bigger city. We skip that travel time, 15 minutes. Let's do a workout from home. You're going to have more time. You're going to be able to do a full workout. Yeah, and
all the evidence on the sunlight getting in the eyes and the walk and things like that, at a bare minimum, we should be running that. So, so we go ideal day, part one is
when you was going to be parts.
It had to be. Yeah, we're 10 minutes in. I'm like, this is going to be a 8-part series.
Yeah.
But obviously, sleep quality, same wake time, ideally, and then moving your body in the morning, some way. Whether that's gym, whether that's just going for a walk, whatever that is, really good practices. If you're feeling quite ambitious, you could combine some of the present awareness, mindfulness kind of stuff on the walk or in the gym if you're doing that. So, no headphones, no podcast, no music, nothing like that. Unless you want to, and then go for it. If that's your time to listen to your tunes and pump them out, go for it. But a bunch of those different things are going to set you up in a really good way, at least first thing in the morning.
Yeah. And all of those things you talked about, some of them take no seconds at all. Like the sunlight thing, that's massive.
Yeah.
When I learn about the benefits of just getting sunlight and setting that circadian rhythm, and once again, we're referring back to that homeostatic balance, you reset it so much quicker. If you stay in a dark area and stuff like that, your body is going, I'm still in night mode. I'm still in sleep mode. I'm not ready to start the day. So you stay in your room and you do those kind of things, then you're not going to get it. As soon as you hit that sunlight, and for me, it's normally driving to the gym, but for some people, it might just be sitting out on the balcony or, going outside for a walk, whatever that may be. Sunlight is crucial. The benefits are there. We can explain it later. We can go into the, physiological benefits of each different thing. Sunlight.
I explain it very briefly in the sleep cycles module that we have for anyone that's keen.
It's huge. And once again, the sleep thing, I want it to be a sleep window. I don't want it to be sleep time. There is a sleep window. I want people to have an ideal wake window.
Yep.
So I don't think that people should sleep in 3 hours past their week time daily. I've got to get up and get the kids ready for school. I've got to get up and start work, whatever it may be. I don't want there to be an extended window where it's just like it just goes through the roof, because what that's going to allow you is it's going to change what you're doing on the weekends. You know what I mean? Then you're going to be like, oh, it's fine for me to stay up till 1 a.m. It's fine for me to stay up till 2 a.m.
Yep.
It is if you've got a good reason to. Don't get me wrong, you need to have fun from here time to time, but it shouldn't be a regular thing. It shouldn't be every Saturday and every Sunday, you know, I'm staying up till 1 or 2 a.m. for this reason, you know?
Well, there's a 3 to 5 day turnaround on getting that consistency back in your rhythm. So, there's only 7 days in a week. So it's like by Thursday, Friday, you get it back to consistent. Your body's like, okay, cool, we're good. And then the weekend comes and you blow it again. It's like, that's a crap cycle to be in. Yeah.
And you're not going to get the responses that you want in your body, whether it's a strength goal, whether it's a nutrition goal, whatever it may be. You're not going to achieve that if you start to let those little things leak in. So we're not being super strict and saying you're getting up at 5:45 every day, because we all know I don't do it. So, it's going to be really difficult for everyone else to do it. But I want there to be a sleep window. So even if it's Saturday or Sunday, I have my sleep window and I go, I'm not going to sleep past this certain time, and I'm going to get sunlight at this time so I can set my normal rhythm and my normal daily cycle and things like that. And then we have our external factors where you've got someone's party or you've got a birthday or whatever. We go to that, but it doesn't become a weekly routine.
Yeah, stuff happens. But
exactly.
Yeah, it's good point.
And then coming back from the training perspective is then obviously you fuel your body. The meal in the morning, most importantly, if you're training, the meal in the morning then becomes the most important meal of the day. 100%. 100%.
Before or after?
Both. So both. So if once again, I talk about this in my biochem stuff, and we've rehashed on it previously in some of our chats, but if I want somebody to gain muscle, or if they're competing in an athletic sport where we need fuel sources and we're not worried about conditioning and we're not worried about how somebody looks and all that kind of stuff, I am fueling somebody before they train, before they work out. 100%. It is essential. I want glucose in the bloodstream. I want it readily available. I do not want glycogen breakdown. I do not want protein synthesis if I can help it. I want all that kind of stuff. I want to utilize the best forms of energy, and I want it readily available. I do not want someone waking up in a fasted state and training unless I am trying to achieve something. Unless I am pushing them further away from their homeostatic state, I am fueling them. The only reason that I would get someone to do it from a fasting perspective is if we are trying to achieve something from a weight loss or a performance-based perspective. So the only two major ones is that, well, there's a third one that we'll chuck in there, but weight loss is the most, the most important one for, I guess, if I was fasting someone, because I would be pushing them more into that fatty acid catabolism and more towards kind of utilizing that and get maybe a little bit of glycogen breakdown so that I can aid in fat loss for a short period of time and then reuptake that straight after training. So reuptake the fuel sources that I want and store them in the body where I would want. Most importantly, protein straight away so that I'm less likely to break down muscle. Okay, so always high intake of protein after training, no matter what.
Always harping on about that.
Yeah, exactly. No matter what, which is prevalent a lot in the literature. I will agree. Everyone says that. Most people say that. They don't really necessarily explain why.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
So we want that protein uptake so that your muscles that have burnt and done whatever exercise possible, they are going to be full as soon as possible. That breakdown, that repair is going to happen straight away when it's most important. And if you've done any protein breakdown as a form of energy production, we will replenish that straight away so that protein breakdown will not occur further in the muscle and we will not get muscle wastage. Okay, so that is the most important thing, and that's as basic as I can make it. If you want to know it any further, then once again, we'll go into it further later on in some of the other content. But that's as
Get into the
basic
biochem.
no, yeah, exactly. But in terms of training beforehand, going back to that, the fasted state, the other reason we may do it is if I was looking to condition an aerobic athlete, a long distance swimmer, a long distance runner, if I was looking to condition them and utilize glycogen uptake as a fuel source to condition them for an event, for a marathon, for something like that, for a position where we knew they were going to be in a fasted state and we're going to have to be in that a comfortable position and utilize those fuel sources so that our body gets utilizing those fuel sources quicker. They are the two major reasons that somebody would train fasted in the morning. The third reason, which people are going to laugh at, which is very true in some situations, is if people get sick when they eat before they train.
Yeah.
Some people do, so we can work around that. But if I was going to do that, I would most commonly, I would have a form of carbohydrates and a protein shake right before they go to bed, so that protein uptake was at its highest, and they were less likely to be in a fasted state and less likely to break down muscle as soon as they wake up and start exercising.
But that, like those, they're quite specific things. Those ones are. That's
yeah. So that would be that approach. Then regardless of what exercise you've done, regardless of whether you've trained, just regardless of the approach, you're going to have a critical meal in the morning, which is going to be high in protein, and the carbs and fats will be dictated by what sport or what training you're doing and what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve. That's as simple as it can be. Your protein intake is going to be high regardless, and your carbs and fats are going to be manipulated based on where you are, what your weight is, what your goal is, what training you're doing, and that is the ideal approach to a morning nutrition regime.
So to sort of neatly wrap this up in a little package, the takeaways are sleep window. We're going to set one. So ideally you want quality sleep, roughly the same wake time, but set it in a window.
Yeah.
We've got to move the body, get some sunlight in.
Yeah.
And then nutrition is extremely important.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Bang.
Ideal.
If you start with that and you started with that, it would, and that was your routine, that would drastically change your life.
We'll challenge anyone who's just listened to that. Try it for a week.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Do it.
See how you feel.
Do it. See how you feel. See if it becomes doable and see if you reach challenges. Because what I want to know is the challenges that people get along the way of trying to achieve that.
Yeah.
You know, that's really important to know where the challenges are so we can break that down even further. You know? Yeah. And the other thing worth noting, which is probably the last thing that is, worth touching on, is supplements, which we kind of have chatted about. Electrolytes. Super beneficial. The literature out there is massive for that. Protein, whether you have protein in your meals or whether you have protein as a shake, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. Naturally occurring protein is probably actually better than a shake, to be honest. Shakes are just easy because they're quick and fast and easy to digest. And then the other one are things like magnesium and vitamins and things like that. They're the other ones. Not nowhere near as crucial as all the other things we've chatted about previously. But once you get to the point where you've adapted all the things that we've talked about and you're starting to do that and you want that extra little bit of an edge, or you're an athlete that's looking for that edge over your competition, that might be where we start to look at.
Then we can tweak.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But you want to get those fundamentals down pat first before you even consider that.
Yeah.
I love when I get clients that are telling me they start taking this vitamin, then they start taking these things, or they've been given this medication by their doctors, but there's been absolutely no lifestyle changes at all. If you talk to any of my clients, they will tell you how passionate I am about that.
Well, it's Band-Aid on a bullet wound, right?
It's no good. It's absolutely no good. So,
dear.
Yeah.
All right, part 1.
That's the morning.
The morning, done.
That's the morning up until I'm going to allow people up until 9:30, 10 o'clock to get that done.
All right. And then part 2 will cover what you do after that.
Yeah, exactly.